Yo, what is up, guys? It is your boy Lucidius back in the studio crafting up another banger. Now, today's topic, as you've read by the title, is about the time that I crashed my vehicle. Very badly, actually. And funnily enough, if you really want to know what the crash looked like, you can look at my I'm back thumbnail, and the car in the top left is the car that I crashed. And to be honest, this story comes with a lot of context, and this was very recently, so I feel like I still am very in tune with everything that happened and went along. A lot of the stories that I've told before this are like years ago, so I can only really remember the events and not the particular emotions I was feeling at the time, but this is different, so this is going to get a little bit deeper, so buckle in. Get yourself like a snack or at least some water. You better be drinking water, you faded motherfucker. I know you're watching this high, and if you aren't, just drink water anyway, because we all need like 4 or 5 liters a day. So let's get into it. So to provide some context, I had been dating a specific female that I will not name, but I'm just gonna call her Ashley, the same name that you Goblin fans will be familiar with. But Ashley and I had been dating for like 6 or 7 years, and it was a journey. It had been a fucking journey, We were on and off all the time. We went through hell and back. And to be completely honest, for the first like 2 years of the relationship, a lot of the faults were definitely on me as an individual. I get angry, as we all do, but I'm not a violent person at all, but verbally I can come across as like abusive, if I in arguments, like I can get really mad and we're just shouting and yelling and fucking saying horrible shit. So the first 2 years of our relationship were just like kind of not that good. Like there was amazing memories, but ultimately like when we would fight, I would like yell and scream, and that really damages relationships. It's not like family. You can get in fights with your family and like shit'll be all right. But with females, especially your girlfriend, you just can't do that. And it's a lesson that I learned the hard way, unfortunately. But fast forward, through all the bullshit, through my Xanax phase where she broke up with me, eventually this woman started to like corrupt. She started to turn ratchet, She was like, I'll pull up an image. It was like when the Smurfs got corrupted, like literally like just pure darkness, watching this beautiful being just turn into a horrible fucking human being, And I think, to be completely honest, throughout the first 2 years, because I was on so much drugs, I just didn't really see her faults. I could only really see my faults. I was very insecure, and I knew I was a drug addict. I knew I had issues. Mentally, I was very unstable as well. And so I never really had a chance to observe what I was actually dealing with. It was always me looking within, overanalyzing, which caused some problems. But after I kind of got my shit together, I started to see her faults. And, with all due respect, this woman is a hoe. Like, straight up. Every single time we'd go on a break, she would fuck like 2 dudes. Like, 1 or 2 dudes at least. Or like I'd find out how she like sucked some dude's dick in the back of a car. It really sucks when you fall in love with a dumb hoe. I'm like, with all due respect, but that's what she was, Anyway, keep going, keep fast forwarding. We would break up again and get back together. And the last time, the last phase was really kind of showed me what a piece of shit that this woman really was. With all due respect, hope she does well, love her to death. You can't wish badly upon your exes, but she had some attributes that were not preferable in any way, shape, or form. The problem is that I was just in love with her, so I couldn't really get myself away from this woman. I couldn't do what was healthy for myself and take a step back and just like work on myself. And I really tried to, because I was completely aware of all my faults at this point. I had done a really good job at actually like stopping the arguing and yelling stopped like a year or and a half before this. And so I was at a point where I felt that I was doing everything right in this relationship. And this, like, I would just constantly, she would start like horrible little arguments and shit, and I wouldn't see past this. Like, I would always try and like make excuses for her behavior and almost blame myself, which is something you should never do. Don't excuse other people's behaviors for shit that you may have done in the past. And so eventually the time comes where college is starting up. And at this point, we had been together for the last year, and we had broken up once in that year's time. And she, of course, had sex with two other dudes, and I just looked past it, which was silly of me, but I looked past it once again and continued to date her. And she was just insane. I would get in trouble for like talking to my fucking coworker. You know what I mean? If I would drop her off. She was a 36-year-old woman, and I would drop her off, and I would get in trouble for that, which like, or like, she would start arguments over it, which just like pissed me off because it's like, come on now, are you serious? But eventually college starts and all is going well. Like, everything is perfectly fine. There's no problems in our relationship. We're talking every day on the phone. All seems really well. And this is like a really anxiety filled time in my life because I hadn't ever finished like a full semester of school, and I only jumped into college for her because, you see, we had a plan. We were going to get out of college. She was in a 1-year course, I was in a 2-year, and we were just going to get an apartment somewhere around the GTA area in Toronto and kind of set shit up and get our lives going. And that was the plan, and I was really excited for that. And I had been working through a lot of my mistakes, and we were getting to a point where like she was recognizing her faults too, and I felt like we were making some serious progress. And then one day she posts something on her Instagram, and she went to like a theme park, and there was a dude next to her, and she was like posted up with him. And I tried to contact her, and she just wasn't answering. And my goofy, silly, retarded, idiot, like, I could go on and on about how stupid I was and how much of a silly clown I made myself look like. I kept trying to hit her up. I just wasn't really cluing in. Like, I kind of knew, but I at least wanted some closure or some communication. Like, if you don't want to be with me, that's okay. Let's just move on the right way. Let's be adults here because we're adults now, right? And after after days of hitting her up, she would just brush me off, brush me aside. One day, she finally like clicks her attention to me, and she tries to blame everything on me. She tries to say like, oh, the shit I did when I was like 15 and 16 makes it so she can't date me now that we're like 18. And I was like, you can't do that to someone. You can't use their mistakes against them, Like, that's a horrible thing to do, especially since you've been with them for the past like 6 years, Like, we've worked past this. Like, to try and blame it all on me is just, quite frankly, really a reflection of your inability to take accountability and, do some self-reflection ultimately and change yourself. And we got in like a little mini argument over the phone, and I tried to get through to her, and she was just like, nope, fuck you, you're blocked, bye bye. And that was it. And she had a new dude. And my goofy ass, for like a week or two after that, I would hit her up or sometimes call her. And one day, this is once again really goofy on my part, but I called her crying. Like, at the time when I started college, I was taking Xanax at night, and what started as like I would take like Ativan every now and then when I couldn't sleep, because I worked at a restaurant and we wouldn't get off till like 12 o'clock, and you're just wired after, like, how it is if you work these late shifts. You are not ready to go to bed afterwards, like, you're wired. So I would take like very small amounts of Ativan to go to bed, and eventually it just led into, unfortunately, Xanax, and I was just taking Xanax to go to bed. But after she did this to me, I, kind of blamed myself. I was very insecure, and I felt like a lesser man, because when you get cheated on, it really fucks with your self-image. Some of you, I really hope you haven't experienced it, but if you have, it's a horrible thing, and I don't wish it upon anyone, but I fell into a dark place, and I just started popping these Xans at night. Like, it was my routine. I'd pop like one. It started off like half, and then it just got to one, and then it got to two, and I would smoke with it, and I'd do stupid shit like drive around. And I really lost like the will to live, And I started driving like a fucking idiot because of it. Like, I just didn't care if I died. I had placed all my value on this female. And as you will see later, or hear, it will all come crashing down if you do this shit, you know? And one day I called her up crying. I was trying to get off the Xanax, like I was, you know, because you can't really function like that, especially doing college work. I was in college for welding and there was advanced math and shit, so I needed to be locked in. And so I did quit the Xanax, but coming off of it, like, I was just a sad fuck. And a lot of my emotions came back because ultimately I was trying to avoid any emotions that this woman brought me. Like, I was just trying to fucking ignore it and just move forward, work on my shit. And for the most part I did that, but there was a couple times where I just like had a moment, you know, just had a fucking moment. And one day I called her up at work in my car, crying on a break, like a goofy clown, as I was getting into earlier. And I just missed the connection with her, and I wanted to talk to her, hear her voice, and just see what was up. And she just basically told me we're done, and she started to get teary too. I could hear it in her voice. She said she had to stop talking to me because she was getting emotional. And that was that. I wasn't gonna push it even more like a goofy. I wasn't gonna beg. Ultimately, I would never beg for someone to be with me, but I just wanted to hear that connection, you know, and just feel that shit again. And, you know, she blocked me on that number after that, and she texted my boy Johnny and was like, can you tell, you know, Lucidius to stop hitting me up and crying? Like, it's really annoying. And that shit hurt my feelings too. So that provides you the basis for what's gonna happen next. After this, I was just fucking done, and I had quit Xanax, but I was still like drinking and smoking every day, like heavily every day. I had to drive like 40 minutes to college there and back, and I would literally, if I had like time in between my classes, I would fucking fly home just to smoke a bowl or two and fly back. Like, it was really just some degenerate behavior, you know? But ultimately, I was still getting those fucking marks in college, you know? I was getting 90s and shit. Shout out to myself for working through that. And ultimately, like I said, it was just because I was avoiding any emotion, you know? And yeah, life goes on. I'm smoking every day. I'm drinking every weekend, doing stupid shit. I'm drinking and driving. And on one particular fateful night, I was with my boy Jordan and a friend, like, I don't know if I've talked about him, but we're going to call him Wilson, just for the sake of it. Jordan and my friend Wilson and I were, you know, smoking. And a little before this, me and Jordan decided to have a couple drinks. It was Tito's vodka. Fuck hard liquor. I want to make a whole video on how much I hate this shit. But hard liquor is horrible. Don't drink it, you know. Don't even drink in general, but please just stick to a couple brews or something, you know. So I had a couple drinks of hard liquor, you know. I crafted some shit up with some orange juice, had a couple swigs out of the bottle, and I hopped in my car, which you should never fucking do, like, ever. Seriously, you're risking... Best case scenario, you get a DUI. Like, that's literally the best thing that could happen out of that. But anyway, we fly to a spot where we were gonna smoke with my buddy Wilson, and me and Jordan were in separate cars. I had a really nice Honda Civic. It was like a 2013. It had like barely any kilometers on it. It was like brand new. It was driven by some like fucking like old ass finance dude. Like, the 5 like saved fucking presets for like songs or radio stations on the car were classical music. This car was like untouched. It has never seen 4K RPMs. It was a beautiful, wonderful Civic. It was great on gas. And we're sitting there smoking, doing our thing, and my boy Jordan decides it's time to go. And I was gonna drive my boy Wilson back home. And so we hop in the car. I wind the windows down because it's full of smoke. I was smoking in my car, and I start flying down this long stretch of road, and which was actually a routine of mine, just to air my car out. And we hit 150, and I'm coming around a left bend. I'm bending to the left, and like a month or two prior, I went over a bump way too fast and like fucked my wheel alignment, so it drifted to the right ever so slightly. But I'm talking to my boy Wilson, looking over at him, peering into his beautiful deep eyes, and all of a sudden he's like, yo, bro, watch out. And I flick my head to the front of me, and I remember it like an image burned into my mind. I just barely hit gravel on my right side, and I hit gravel at 150 and just spun the fuck out. And for like, it felt like an eternity. I was trying to control the car, trying to like fucking counter steer and like get this shit back on the road. But like, this all happened with between like 2-3 seconds, and we slammed head on into a tree at 150 kilometers an hour. And my dumbass did not have a seatbelt on, which was one of the fines I got. And because of this, my knee slammed into the bottom of the dashboard so fucking hard. Like, I was in crazy pain, mortal pain. And I was so disorientated after this had happened that I actually tried to start the car again. Like, I thought we just spun out and like fucking, on the road. I thought we just spun out, but I go to start the car and my boy's like, yo, don't even try and start this shit. And I just hear this horrible sound, which I won't even try and repeat, but it was like the worst grinding sound ever, bro. It was like two planets colliding. And I look over to him after he says, don't start the car, and my radiator is bent upwards, touching his side of the window. And I was just like, oh my gosh, bro, I've cooked myself. And I deadass just started crying because it was just a collection of everything. I just knew I had fucked myself. And just the cherry on top is our phones were like fucking flew off into the like wherever, into the fucking like limbo of this car, into the back rooms, and it started like buzzing, notifying that it's going to call the cops because it's sent to crash. And I was tweaking because I did not want the cops to be called at all, because I had a couple drinks a couple hours earlier. And if I'm being completely 100% honest with you, I wasn't drunk like at all. I didn't feel drunk. Obviously there was alcohol in my system, but ultimately it was not because of the alcohol. I think it was just a collection of like months of being unlocked, smoking every day, and yeah, like probably being loosened up on the liquor. So the idea of cops was just like, fuck no. Like, I wanted to find a way to just like somehow avoid the police, And so we turn our phones off so they don't call the cops. And I instantly just call my mom and I'm like, yo, I crashed my car, I need help. And she had no clue how bad it really was. And I get out of my car and I'm like fucking tweaking, and I accidentally left my phone in the car, and I closed my door, and my door was cooked, like it wouldn't open. And I'm like tweaking, I'm like, yo, why won't my fucking door open? And like my boy Wilson is just trying to, the whole time, shout out to this guy, he's just calming me down. He was luckily like uninjured, because he had his seatbelt on, but I had like bashed my forehead against my steering wheel, so I was like blind because there's blood in my eyes and blood everywhere. And I was just fucking overwhelmed by everything that had just transpired. And cars were like driving by and they're like, oh, do you need us to call the cops? And I'm like trying to like convince them not to, right? I'm like, oh no, yeah, we're good. I got them coming, don't worry. Just a regular old fender bender. This shit happens, right? And yeah, the car was like, anyone that drove by would be like, how the fuck did these two survive this shit? And my mom came, and the police pulled up like right before she came, and they're sussing everything out. And I'm fucking tweaking. Like I said, the whole time I'm tweaking. The cops are doing their investigation, and one cop's like, I smell a hint of alcohol in your breath, so we're gonna do some breathalyzers, like a breathalyzer test. And at this point, to describe the feeling within me, it was pure despair. Like pure despair. I thought for sure I was fucked. I thought for sure I was getting a DUI. And I fucking waddle my ass over because at this point my knee is stiff as a board. I couldn't bend it. It was in mortal pain. And he actually asked me right before I did the breathalyzer, do you request medical attention? Do you want an ambulance to come down here? And I'm like, nah, I'm good. And he like looks me up and down in the most like stereotypical way. And he's like, are you sure about that? And I was like, yeah, dude, I'm fine, man. I'm perfectly good. Like, it didn't sound like that. There was much more despair in my voice. I was like, yeah, I'm all right. So we do the breathalyzer, and the first time it fails, and my heart is like beating so fast, I think I actually just metabolized whatever I had within me. And I blow it again, and I had like a secret method, and I don't know if this really worked, but I like inhaled oxygen into my mouth as if it was like I'm about to ghost a vape, and then blew into the breathalyzer. And thank God himself, this shit did not come up with anything. It blew an alert, which basically means it's not a registerable number, but there was hints of something alcohol-wise in my system. And because of that, because I was a G2 driver and I'm a novice driver, I broke the law basically. I'm not supposed to have anything in my system, but it wasn't an intoxicating amount. And that shit saved my ass. But it still was up to them and their investigation to see whether or not, like, if they wanted to, they could have given me a DUI. But my police department in my area is quite nice. They're really good actually about things. And I was sitting with the sergeant in the back of her squad car with my mom, and I'm like, just like hoping and praying, and she was like, hopefully they go easy on you, like for first time things like this, normally we don't give you guys serious punishments. And I'm just like hoping and praying, I'm like, fucking I hope so, like, and eventually my boy's mom comes to pick him up, and I felt so horrible. Like, I want to actually take note on this, like I felt really, really bad about this. Like, I almost killed her son, and that's the guiltiest thing about this entire experience, is putting another person in danger. That is what I feel the worst about, honestly. I feel horrible. Thank God he didn't get hurt. I'm so glad that I was the one that got hurt instead of him. Like, I would much rather that be, and his mom just gave me a hug, and she asked if I was okay, which was super relieving, to know that she didn't fucking hate me. Because this guy is like my best friend, and I felt so guilty and horrible for putting his son or her son in this situation, But eventually they tell me, okay, we're not going to give you a DUI. And they asked for my license. I said it was in my glove box because I had lost my license on another story that I will tell soon. But I'm like, oh, I should have a temporary license in the glove box. And my dumbass had a fucking BB gun in there. And this cop was not happy about it. After he did his investigation, he was like, so you got off lucky. There was a BB gun in your glove department where your license was supposed to be. Do you know how stupid that was? And I was like, yeah, I understand. He's like, no, I don't think you do. And I was like, oh shit, this guy's actually fucking heated, and rightfully so, And anyway, I got a bunch of fucking fines, and that was it. I went home and was severely depressed. I had hit rock bottom, complete rock bottom. I would literally wake up at like 4 a.m. just to smoke a bowl and go back to bed. I just hibernated all day. My knee is still cooked to this day. I can go to the gym now. I can do some legs. I think I can run. I haven't really tested it. I can walk perfectly fine. Bending over, like doing complete squats, is still a challenge. And that just goes to show, man, like how fuck shit can be. But I'm so grateful for that experience. I'm so grateful for God for sparing me. I'm so happy that I didn't get more hurt. I'm so happy we didn't die. There's so much shit to be grateful about. And to jump back around to my ex-girlfriend that cheated on me, this really put in perspective. It's like, wow, I almost killed myself basically over another person that doesn't give a shit about me, doesn't care if I live or die, basically, And after that, I fucking locked in, because all my life, past 6 years, I had put all my value on her, and like I would only do good in life if I had her, or if things were going well with her. It was like everything relied on our current situation, and finally everything switched up. Like, I'm not in college anymore. I'm doing shit for myself. I'm making these videos for myself. I'm making money for myself. I got a plan, a goal. I know exactly who I am, what I'm doing. Ultimately, this experience I came out on top. It was either going to be a make or break. And now I've lived to tell the tale, and I'm very grateful for it. So yeah, guys, much longer video. Thank you if you sat all the way through. If you did, comment down below pork and beans, just because that's so fucking random. And I just know you're like a day one, you're a G, you're a fucking OG, and I'll remember you guys. So yeah, leave a like and subscribe. I got more videos coming soon. Yeah. Peace.